Today we're going to go on to Web Design Part 1, and there are going to be 4 parts in this. So we're going to go through a number of web design guidelines. There are 3 aspects of web design: designing the individual web pages, the look and feel of each page, what sort of content do we want to be represented on the web pages, and thirdly, site design, that is the links between the web pages, the website structure, if you like. Website, web page, and content. So these are the 3 aspects of web design, and we'll look at each aspect in turn. When designing individual pages, we want to look at the visible part of the web design, and users, of course, look at one page at a time. There are 3 considerations. We need to look at the content proportion. So how much of the page is devoted to certain type of content, how much of the page is devoted to a different type of content, and so on. Each page should be resolution independent and cross-platform. So if you look at the same page on different devices, it should have a similar look and feel, or at least should adapt to the device. And thirdly, response time. And this is the time required to load the page up. And so you do not want a page which has too many images, for instance, or too much content that takes too long to load. So let's look at content proportion. So with content proportion, you have different types of content. You have the actual links on the page, so the navigation bar, for instance, the different links on a page. You have links embedded in the text itself, and you have the text itself, right? So the idea of content proportion is how much of the page should be for navigation, for instance, and how much of the page should be for advertisements, for instance, and how much of the page for the actual content. That's the idea of content proportion. And that, of course, depends on what kind of page it is. If it is a page from a website like Yahoo, which is basically an index or a directory kind of website, then of course there will be a larger proportion of the page for links. Whereas in other websites, for example, a newspaper website, there's a significant proportion of the page for the contents. So here's a rough rule of thumb. On any page, 80% of it is for content and 20% for navigation, for instance, for the navigation bar. And of course, if you can get rid of advertisements, it is best. But if you have to have advertisements, it should not be a significant proportion of the page itself. Right? It should be in some corner somewhere. Visible, but not overwhelming. So a general principle for all user interface is to look at all the design elements and to remove things if they are not needed. This is the classical idea of the Occam's razor, which is to remove things which are not necessary. Now, how many pixels should you have for the width of a website? Nowadays, with high resolution screens, 700 to 800 pixels wide is not unusual, it's not uncommon. And certainly in the web exercises in the labs and so on, you can set typical page width to be around 700 to 800 pixels. Of course, that can change, right, depending on the size of the screen of a device. On a mobile device, for instance, it may only be 300 to 400 pixels wide. And on some other devices like a tablet, maybe 500 to 600 pixels wide. So in general, there could be a protocol for negotiation between the web browser and the server. So the web browser will send information about the size of the screen to the server, and the server can send back a page of the right width and the right resolution to the browser. So it really depends on what kind of device the browser is sitting on. But of course, there's only a very limited degree of negotiable web content between browsers and servers, and we'll look at further examples of this later. Cross-platform design, it means that you may use different browsers, you might use, and for instance, different types of laptops, devices in a similar class. Your website should work. So more often than not, you should test your web pages against a set of popular browsers like with Chrome, with Safari, with Internet Explorer, and so on. Right? Not necessarily with all browsers, but with the popular ones. And certainly, web designers need to accommodate and support user-controlled navigation. Right? So you do not want users to be forced down certain paths. There should be enough flexibility. So the system should allow the user to use the navigation buttons in the browser as well as on the page itself, and yet not get lost. Right? So they have freedom to visit different parts of the website, but yet they do not get lost. So how can we do this? And certainly the idea of the navigation bar, or the persistent navigation bar, which is found in every page, that's important. And there are other mechanisms, for example, using breadcrumbs, which shows the path from the home page down to the current page, for instance. What is called breadcrumbs. Okay, there's also the idea of resolution independent design. And in the past, it has been recommended that you should only use changeable pixel widths so that the pixel width can adjust to the size of the screen. But you find that this is rather distracting. And we're going to come back to this idea, but in general, we should fix the width of the page for a given form factor. So for all desktops or all laptops, we fix the width of the page. And then for another class of mobile devices like smartphones, we fix the width of the page. And then for certain sizes of tablets, we also fix the width of the page. And the idea is to show different pages, different versions of the same page of different widths according to what the device is. So the idea of never to fix the pixel width is not quite right. The idea is that we do fix the pixel width for a given form factor, but for different form factors, we have different pixel widths. So you also have graphical elements, and graphical elements, again, you must consider different resolutions. If you view the same image on a phone, that image resolution might be different from the image that you view on a large desktop, for instance, right? Because certain details will be missing if the image is too small on the phone. Response times. In general, you want pages to be quick to download, and we'll look at some examples of how you can use the developer tools in Chrome and other such browsers to look at how fast a given page can download. Right? And less than 1 second is of course ideal, but certainly no more than 10 seconds, right? Even for a significantly heavyweight page, if you like, page with lots of information. So normally response time should be as fast as possible, right? And but of course, if it's too fast, then the users may if it's just scrolling down too fast, that's not so useful, right? So be careful of scrolling. Anything that you can do to stabilize response time, right, in a sense that make it predictable, right? You don't want the page to load very fast today and very slow tomorrow, and then the day after very fast again, right? So predictable times will be useful. Okay, content design. Certainly, you want your content to be scannable, right? So, which is different from reading a book. Reading a website and reading a book is pretty different. And when you're reading contents on a web page, you want it to be scannable. And especially if it's a mobile website, you want it to be highly scannable, right? Rather than too much text. Right? So, got to design the content accordingly. So it's better to have a little bit of a lot, or is it a lot of a few? Right? In other words, is it good to have, for example, very few pages, but each page has huge chunks of text, or is it better to have a lot of pages, each page with small chunks of text? And in general, you want to set up more pages, right? In general, many pages, but each page with a small chunk of text, right? And that gives the designer greater flexibility as well. So you want to be precise, right? So you don't want your content to have too much, uh, to be too verbose, to have too much unnecessary information. The key idea is writing for scannability. Page titles, of course, should be meaningful, reflective of the content of the page, and you have the title of the page, and that title appears normally on the title bar of the web browser. Site design, you're going to come back to different types of site structure as well, and we're going to look into different ways you can structure a website, whether it should be a linear sequence of pages, a hierarchical kind of structure, and so on. Right? So we'll look at that. But in general, you always have a home page, right, which is the root, right, of the website. So if you think of the website as a graph of pages with the links being the hyperlinks between the pages, the home page is the root page. And normally there's a logo on the top left hand corner of the page. And when you click on it, it always goes back to the home page. And that logo is on any page of the website. And when you click on that logo, it goes back to the home page or the root page of the website. Right? And that helps to tackle this goal of preventing the user from getting lost, or at least there's always a way to go back to the root of the page. The logo normally contains a link to the home page. So the home page is the entry point of the entire website. So the home page is also the place where you have any special promotions or news features that should be upfront. Right? So any search feature and so on, that should be upfront on the homepage as well. So if you go to Barnes and Noble, for instance, or you go to a website like Amazon, where search is a key part of the website, you're going to have the search feature right on the homepage itself. Right? So a homepage should have three features: a directory of the site's main content area, and sometimes it's called a sitemap. But if you don't have a sitemap, you normally have a navigation bar. And this navigation bar is normally the same on every page of the same website. You have also a summary of the most important pieces of information and a search feature. Right? So all that is normally on the home page. So again, there are four things: high quality content. Content should be often updated. It should be minimal download time, the quick response, and ease of use. Right? For instance, you have navigation bar and so on to make it easy to navigate without getting lost, as well as the link to the home page. Okay, that's it for now and for part 1 of this web design lecture.